Drake.
My top 5 is Drake.
Drake is in a weird spot with his career right now. That's been said a million times. Ever since For All the Dogs dropped, all we've gotten are the Kendrick diss tracks and this.
Walk one Delilah, I'm so cheap.
And I know, the timing of this video isn't ideal, but I've had these thoughts since For All the Dogs came out, but I wasn't making videos back then, so I can actually talk about it now. I think Drake as an artist has a lot of issues, but the biggest problem I have with Drake is I don't know Drake. His music is extremely generic. Your typical rap song, club banger, sad boy melody. What I'd want from Drake is the same thing I'd want from a Taylor Swift, for example. More insightful writing. You're arguably one of, if not the biggest artist in your genre. So what's that like? I don't want to hear you talk about your mansion or the party life, how many drugs you've done, how many people you've killed. What are you struggling with? Like, actually struggling with? What's it like having to raise your son in your environment? In his lawsuit, he talked about how he had to pull his son out of school because of the rap beef. Why am I hearing about this from a court document? You could have easily put that into a song. You talk about all these different women. What about settling down? All the things you talk about in interviews? Try putting that in the music. Some of my favorite albums in recent memory are Chromacopia, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, From Me to You, all albums where the artist gets extremely personal and talks about their lives, and not just the glamorous parts, but the parts that everybody can relate to, the struggle. Now obviously I can't relate to Drake's struggle of being a millionaire, but we're all human at the end of the day. I'm sure there's something that people can relate to Drake about. Or you don't have to do that. You can just give us some insight into who you are. You have such a unique perspective on life in the music industry. You can talk about that instead. Let us know what's going on in your life right now, because I doubt that all of it is just partying and having fun. You have to be struggling in some way. What's it like not being able to go outside without security, without being recognized constantly? You also don't have to talk about your struggles. You can talk about anything. Just humanize yourself. As long as it's real and personal, it doesn't matter what you rap about. He has moments of this on his timestamp songs as well as a few other tracks, but besides that, Drake lacks in this department greatly. You don't have to do the same mainstream bullshit on every song. Of course you can have an album with a few of those on it, but try something different. Another album I love, Let's Start Here by Lil Yachty. Yachty does a complete artistic shift in his sound, and it works so well. You already take Yachty's flows, at least take some inspiration from him and make something with some sonic depth. Not just the same generic trap and R&B beats every time. Maybe we'll get these things on his next album since there's a lot to talk about now, but something tells me we're just going to get a surface level analysis of what's been going on, or sneak dissing of women surrounding the people that he's beefing with, or another generic Drake album where he talks about the same things that he did on the last one, and the last one, and the last one, and the last. Just another 20 plus song Drake album where he raps the same, sings the same, and chameleons different cultures the same. Like I said, I've had all these thoughts since For All the Dogs. But what about his last album? I genuinely didn't want to listen to this album, but if I was going to make this video, I wanted to be fair. I'm never being fair again. This album is so boring. It's just background music, but boring background music. Like, at that point, if you wanted something on in the background, just play lo-fi music or video game OSTs. Maybe this would be better if it wasn't 21 songs long, which is something I feel like I've said about every Drake album for the last 7 years. Drake also isn't a great singer. He's a good singer. Not a great one. He doesn't have the capability to carry an entire R&B record, especially not with Party Next Door. I'm sorry, I don't like Party Next Door at all.
The biggest.
Big P&D, man. Fuck. God.
But back to Drake. This album, with the rest of Drake's music for God knows how long, is completely inoffensive. Drake does what Drake does best. Plays it safe. On Gimme a Hug, Drake... Why is it called that, dude? On Gimme a Hug, Drake talks about how if he died, there would be no one to replace him. No one to keep the party lit. I'm sorry, Drake. There's plenty of people to replace you. The music is so generic, is being made every single day by multiple different artists, some of which are doing it better than he is. There's nothing amazing on here, except for Pimmy's Dilemma, which doesn't even feature Drake or Party Next Door. But there's also nothing terrible on here, except for Meet Your Padre, which goes into another Drake problem of taking multiple accents and implementing himself into various different cultures and places he doesn't belong just to expand his global and mainstream appeal. God, that was a long one. Which is why it's hard to like Drake. Because who is Drake? What does a Drake song sound like anymore? There's nothing he's done in the last few years that you can say is Drake sound. It's all just stuff building off the music other people have created or popularized. Sure, you can argue Drake has created sounds and waves 10 years ago, but none of that is present in any of his music today. Also, Drake really wants it to appear that he's unaffected by everything that happened to him last year. Why? You're suing your label, you're still sneak dissing, you try to downplay everything that Kendrick's done, You can just be mad. Like, being upset is a normal reaction if you've gone through what Drake did. If I was Drake, I'd kill myself. It's kind of ironic. It's like the certified lover boy doesn't know it's okay to show emotions. And this is the Drake paradox. He wants you to think he's hard and tough and doesn't care about anything, while at the same time being super emotional, trying to appeal to women, showing he has a sensitive side. It doesn't work that way. You can't be both. You can't be uncaring while simultaneously caring way too much. We've seen this behavior time and time again. Once upon a time, Drake was begging Kendrick to drop music on him. And when he did, suddenly, he don't care anymore.
I'm not gonna lie, this shit was some good exercise. Like,
With this new album, it's looking like Drake is going deeper into his lover boy persona. I don't want to say those words ever again. But I wouldn't be surprised if his next album comes out and he's back to sneak dissing, acting like he's hard when we know he's not. Or if it sounds exactly the same as everything else Drake has done. His fans are going to eat it up regardless. He's still going to sell records. The world's going to keep spinning.